how are you all? I hope you all are doing really well. So students, today we are going to start chapter name Philemon and Baucis. Okay, boxes. Now the summary of this story is the chapter Philemon and Baucis revolve around them. Philemon and his wife Baucis lived in ancient Rome where they were old and poor. They had hardly any food for themselves, but their doors were open even to strangers. One day, when they were going to sit for dinner, two travelers come to their cottage and ask for food. Read the story and know how they were rewarded in the end. Okay? So we are going to study. We are going to read about a story about a couple whose name is Philemon and Baucis, and they are old and poor, and they don't have enough food to eat. But whenever there is stranger come to their place, they always offer them their food. And what exactly happened in the last, you will read. We will read the chapter first, and then we will find out. Okay. So let's start the story and read it carefully. Listen it carefully. In ancient Rome, there once lived an old man and his wife. Their name were Philemon and Baucis. They were very poor and lived in a small cottage. But they were very noble and kind-hearted people. Okay, so in ancient Rome, the old man lived with his wife, and their name is Philemon and Baucis, and they were very poor and lived in a small cottage, but they are noble and kind-hearted. Means people who never hurt someone or always do something good for others. They are called noble and kind-hearted. Okay. Now, one evening, when they were going to sit for dinner, two travelers come to their cottage and asked for food. They must have been traveling for a long time, for their clothes were covered with dust and they looked tired and hungry. So one evening they are going to sit for the dinner and going to have their dinner, and two travelers come to their cottage and ask for food. So they are traveling for a long time and their clothes are all covered with dust and they are looking tired and hungry. When you are traveling for a long time and you are traveling for a long distance, you always look tired and hungry if you didn't get food on time. Okay, now the Philemon and Baucis welcomed the guests, requested them to be seated and gave them water to drink. But they had only a small jug of milk and a loaf of bread for dinner. Baucis felt sad to think that they did not have enough food for the guests. Still, they offered them whatever little they had. The guests filled their glasses from the jug and took some slices from the loaf. The two old people sat nearby. Soon the guests had taken their fill and looked fresh and happy. But the Philemon and Baucis were surprised to see that even after this, the jug was full with milk and the loaf looked to be quite big. This was something quite strange. Philemon and Baucis were scared. They looked at their guests more closely. They noticed that although the guests were dressed like a poor beggar, they had the face of kings. The two old people went on their knees and said, "Surely you are not what you look. Kindly tell us who you really are." The two strangers smiled and looked at them kindly. Then the younger of the two said, "We are gods. Be not afraid of us, for we mean no harm." Pointing toward the other stranger, he said, "This is Jupiter, the king of the gods, and I am Mercury, his messenger. We came to the earth to see how people behave." The old couple knelt before the gods. Then Jupiter said, "We are sorry to see that. Most people have no kindness in them. We went to many houses and asked for food. People just saw our dirty clothes and drove us away. Only you took pity on us. You are poor but kind-hearted, and we are happy to meet you. Ask for whatever you wish. Your wish will be granted." Philemon and Baucis were so surprised that for a long time they could not think what to ask for. "Don't you wish to have anything? Is there anything we can give you?" asked Jupiter. Philemon and Baucis loved each other very dearly. They had one fear in their mind: what would happen if one of them died before the other? So they said, "If you are pleased with us, O God, kindly grant the both of us die together at the same time." The gods were quite impressed with their love for each other. "Your wish is granted," said Jupiter. Then they just vanished from their sight. Philemon and Baucis were left wondering at what had happened. Suddenly their poor cottage was changed, and if by magic, into a fine temple. And Philemon and Baucis lived there for many years as priest and priestess. At last there came the moment of death. The two old people died at the same time, and they were buried just outside the temple doors. After some time, two tall and beautiful trees appeared where they had been buried. Okay, so here is the end of the story, and this is a very interesting story about two old, poor, kind-hearted people. So after the two strangers come to their houses, they find out that they are hungry, and they offered their food to them. So in that case, what happened? They don't have much food to give it to them. So they have whatever they have, they offered to those strangers. So the stranger poured the milk into their glasses and eat the loaf of bread. And after they are filled with they filled their empty stomach, what Philemon and Baucis find out that the milk is not empty yet, and the loaf of bread is bigger in size before they start eating it. So they find out that this is not something which is common and which is not real. So they kneel down in front of them and ask them that who are they, who really they are. So the two strangers looked at them and smiled, and they converted into a god. Their torn poor dresses are converted into beautiful dresses, and they said that they are god. So the god Jupiter and Mercury want to see how much the people of this world, of this earth, are kind to each other. So they come from there and went asking for food from here to there, and finally saw that a poor husband and wife offered them food and greeted them well. So they are very happy to meet them, and they want him to grant a wish. So if they ask Philemon and Baucis to ask for a wish, whatever they want in their life. If they want anything, they can ask, and they will grant them. So both of them are very both of them love each other very deeply. So they want them, whenever they think about that, if someone die, what happened with the second one, one with the who will alive. So they want a wish that whenever they died together. So they asked God for if whenever they died together, so that they were not worried about the other one. So God was very impressed with their love for each other and granted the wish to them. Then after some time, when the god vanished away from there, they saw that their poorer cottage become a fine temple, and they both lived there as a priest and priestess. And after when the moment their death comes, they died together, and they were buried them outside their temple. And after some time, there's a beautiful tree appeared from that where they were buried. So the moral of this story is, treat everyone well, because you never know when you will find yourself in the presence of God. When you will find yourself in the presence of God. Okay, so you have to be kind and for everyone. Try to love each other, try to help each other in this world. We are all similar, and no one knows when God come in front of you as a beggar, as a rich man, or in any form, and you have to treat him as well, so that he will grant you a wish. Okay, so this is the story, this is the moral of this story. Hopefully you like it. Now move on to next word bucket. Ancient, old, cottage, a small simple house, dust, flith, surprised, shocked, scared, afraid, granted, accepted, impressed, affected. Think and answer. A. Take the correct option. Number 1. Philemon and Baucis were very poor. Were very poor because they are poor people. Na? We have studied about this in the chapter. Okay. Now read the rest of this question and find out the suitable answer for this. Fill in the blanks. Number 1. Philemon and Baucis were very noble and kind-hearted people. Okay. Now read the rest of the fill in the blanks and find out their answer from the story. Okay. Now C. Write T for true and F for false statement. Number 1. Philemon and Baucis lived in a small cottage. True. Okay. Now read the rest of the sentences and find out whether they are true or false. Okay. Now D. Write what the underlined word stands for. One has been done for you. They were going to sit for dinner, Philemon and Baucis. They must have been traveling for a long time. The strangers, the two strangers. Philemon and Baucis lived there for many years in the temple. Okay. So like that, read the read rest two sentences and find out for which this word stands for and write down the answer in the blank. E. Answer the following question. Number 1. Where did Philemon and Baucis live? They live in a small cottage. Okay. Now read the rest of the questions and find out their answer from the story. Values inside. If one of your friend hasn't bought her or his tiffin, would you share your tiffin with him or her? Why? Okay. Now this is answer this question according to your thought. Okay. Because it's totally depend on you whether you share your tiffin with your friend or not. And if you share, then why? If you not, then why? Okay. Grammar stroke. Reading and writing skills. Verbs. What are verbs? Ria and Shania welcomed the guests and gave them water to drink. The words welcomed and gave are doing words. Doing words are called verbs. Okay. Now number 2. But some other words can also be verbs. This was something quite strange. They were very poor. This story is very interesting. Words like is, am, are, was, were, will be, shall be are also called verbs. Okay. Now number 3. This book has many beautiful pictures. And they had only a small jug of milk and a loaf of bread for dinner. Words like has, have, had are also called verbs. So how many types of verbs are there? We know that doing words or action words are called verbs. Okay. And after that, we here they have given you is, am, are, was, were, has, have, had, will be, shall be are also called verbs. Okay. Or you can say that it's a helping verb or auxiliary verbs, but they are verbs. Now underline the verbs in the given paragraph. In ancient Rome, there once lived an old man and his wife. Lived. Okay. Their name were Philemon and Baucis. Were. Like that. Now read the rest of the paragraph and underline the verbs in it. B. Give short answer to the following question. Choose your answer from the box. Yes, she was. No, they were not. Yes, he was. Yes, they were. No, he wasn't. Yes, he was. Number 1. Were the old man and his wife poor? Yes, they were. Okay. Was Baucis said that she didn't have enough for dinner? Yes, she was. Okay. Yes, she was. Okay. Now read the question carefully and answer according to was and were. Okay. Now the word power. A. Which word in each group is the odd one? Circle it. Vanished, disturbed and disappeared. Disappeared and vanished is same in meaning. Disturbed is different. So we will circle this disturbed word. Okay. Here. Number 2. Pleased, happy, loved. Pleased and happy means same and loved is different. So we circle the loved one. Now read the 3 and 4 and find out which one is the odd one. Add ly to these words to make new word. Kindly, ly, kindly. Strangely, okay. Dangerously, sadly, badly, carefully, lovely, and loudly. C. Write the antonyms of the given word from the chapter. Number 1, old, rich. 2, sad, happy. Okay, now read the other words and find out the answer from the chapter. A. Imagine your Jupiter, write what you did when you came to the earth, start and end your paragraph like this. So the starting is when Mercury and I reached the earth, we knocked at the door of a cottage. Now you start your imaginative story here and write down in the paragraph and end like this. We were happy to find such kind-hearted people. Okay. Now B. Have you ever shared your food with a hungry person or distributed food among the poor? If yes, share your experience with the class. Okay. So here our chapters end. Hopefully you understand the chapter very well. This is a very interesting story and gives you a very good morale. Okay. So hopefully you understand the moral of the story and you will do the same. And I have already told you about the exercises, how to do it. Now do the rest and pending part of the exercises at your own.